Thousands of people have turned out for a candlelit vigil in Charlottesville in the U.S. state of Virginia. They gathered to condemn violence and hate after a woman died opposing a white supremacist rally on Saturday. 2 state troopers were also remembered. They died in a helicopter crash while monitoring the unrest. The wave of violence started when a protest over the removal of a statue of a Confederate general. Authorities are taking down similar monuments across the country now, citing security reasons. Many landmarks in the U.S. are linked to controversial personalities from the Civil War era, and many people are reluctant to condemn them. Maupin has more of the story.
Here outside of St. John's Episcopal Church in Brooklyn, there was a monument commemorating Confederate General Robert E. Lee. It was affixed to this maple tree, and it was here for over 100 years. Now, in light of the violence in Charlottesville related to a statue of Robert E. Lee, it's been removed. All across the country, activists are demanding that symbols honoring or related to slavery or honoring the people who fought for it be taken down. Perhaps this is sensible. After all, slavery is a barbaric practice. Millions of people died coming to the United States. Millions more were worked to death on plantations. However, getting rid of the symbols related to slavery might not be as easy as it sounds. This is New York City's Madison Avenue. It's named after U.S. President James Madison. Now, James Madison owned over 100 slaves, and in his personal letters, he said some pretty reprehensible things about black people. Do you feel like there's a little hypocrisy that we're changing things in the South but not changing things here?
Absolutely. We should change them everywhere. I think anything that represents, a troubled past, or there's a difference between honoring history and recognizing that we shouldn't repeat it.
Should they stop Madison Avenue?
And rename it?
Yeah.
No, I think it's fine.
If one person is affected while they're walking by this, I think it'd be a good idea to take it down.
I think it should be a democratic process, but I think a lot of people in the South do want to take those statues down. It's not just people in the North that are trying to take them down.
Now we're here in Thomas Jefferson Park. Thomas Jefferson was the ideological founder of the American Republic, and he was also a slave owner. Not only did Jefferson own hundreds of slaves, he actually impregnated one of them. There's a number of African Americans living today who can trace their genealogy back to Thomas Jefferson and one of his slaves, Sally Hemings.
For him having slaves, it was wrong, you understand? But why change it? Slavery shouldn't be. There's even slaves right now in these days. I have heard of that. But there's other ways. Talk it out. Talk it out. Why you try to kill each other?
The first president of the United States, George Washington, started owning slaves when he was just 11 years old. By the time of his death, he had over 300. He even signed into law the infamous Fugitive Slave Act, which allowed slave owners to track down escapees all over the country. Think anything that's owned by a slave owner should be changed?
Yeah, it should be, because this is times 2000. Definitely they've had enough time to do it.
Well, Washington didn't go to war to defend slavery, and I think context is very important in these type of situations.
George Washington's face is on the $1 bill. He's often referred to as the father of our country. Slavery didn't just exist in the South. It existed all across the United States. Getting rid of everything related to slavery opens up an interesting can of worms. It might not be as easy as some people seem to think. Maupin, RT, New York.